What's up? What's up? Jeff Lerner here. And, well, I'm going to bail out on Instagram because I can already see that the connection is poor. And we're just going to be on YouTube and Facebook. Anyway, it's nice to see everyone here. I know some of you will see this live. Many of you will see this on replay. But regardless, I appreciate your presence and participation. Feel free to post a comment, say what's up. Maybe give me a like, give me a share, let the world know what we're up to here. Today, we're talking about basically, lessons from the world we're in right now, lessons from COVID, what's going on in the world, why are billionaires crushing it right now while so many of the rest of us are struggling. And I'm not a billionaire at all, but I have gracefully or gratefully, I'm grateful, although hopefully I'm graceful, kind of inserted myself in a flow where these times have not been as trying for me as perhaps for others. And what I want to talk about is how we can kind of learn from what's going on in the world and really look at the historical cycles of these types of busts or recessions or whatever you want to call them. What's up? Got a bunch of people saying, hey, appreciate it. What's up, Drew? I see Theodore. I see TJ. Appreciate you guys being here. I just switched to a new, hey, Elizabeth, appreciate being here. I just switched to a new platform for the streaming. I'm using a platform now called StreamYard. I was using a platform called Caster. And I'm going to go ahead and say I'm liking this StreamYard thing. It's pulling in comments from all the different places, all into one dashboard. Like, this is great, StreamYard. So if you're somebody who looks to create content or go live, I'm going to go ahead and endorse StreamYard. Plus the multi streaming seems to be working better than Caster. But yeah, I want to, the world we're in now it's tough. It's frustrating. I know it's hard for a lot of people. I sometimes feel like a little bit like a parent. And I don't mean that, I'm not making any claim to like superiority or authority in saying that. What I mean is like, I love people. I love you. If you're seeing this, I love you. I love you the way I love my kids, the way parents love kids. And what I mean by that is, God, I just want the best. I want the best for everyone. I want everyone to evolve, mature, grow up, to be successful, prosperous, happy, enthusiastic, fulfilled, passionate. Love, man. Thank you, TJ. I really do. Just like I want it for my kids. Like, we live in a world where those are not the norm. It's hard out there. No different than my kids. I'm like, listen, you're growing up. You're going to enter a world where you're going to be surrounded by a lot of negative influence, a lot of things trying to pull you down, a lot of people that aren't in love with their lives, a lot of people that have this sort of persistent sense that they're not doing everything they could be doing, or they're not, in their sweet spot or in their lane of their own personal greatness. What's up, Jeff? Appreciate you, my man. And that's the world. That's the world that most, my kids are going to enter into. That's the world, if you're watching this, that you're already in. I mean, it's the world I live in. And yet I want everyone to have the amazing life, what I call your awesome life. I want everyone to have an awesome life. That's why I do what I do. I'm on a mission. I have my values sheet right here. My vision is a world where an awesome life is achievable for anyone committed to excellence. My mission, hey, Jay, I appreciate that. My mission says right here, empowering people to achieve physical, personal, and professional excellence through entrepreneurial education. Well, what does that mean? If somebody achieves excellence based on my vision of the world, an awesome life is achievable for anyone committed to excellence. So if I'm helping people achieve excellence, entrepreneurial education is the vehicle that I've chosen. But if I'm helping people achieve excellence across those three buckets, personal and professional and physical, then based on my vision for the world, we ought to be producing awesome lives. That's how I define an awesome life. Commitment, pursuit, and a targeting of excellence. Not the achievement. Excellence is an asymptote. And if you're familiar with geometry, remember the XY graph, not geometry, algebra. Remember the XY graph? Like the y-axis isn't, and you have a curve that approaches the y-axis. Let me try to get angled correctly in the camera here. You have a curve that approaches and approaches and approaches and approaches, but it never actually, sorry, I'm trying to get my angles right. It never quite gets there, right? This is an asymptote. It's a line that a curve approaches but never touches. Perfection, excellence. These are asymptotes in our life. I don't think we ever fully get there. My mission statement says, demonstrating daily that we were designed to pursue excellence and to act with courage. Courage we can do. We can pull that off. Excellence, we pursue it, man. Perfection, we pursue it. Jeff, appreciate your comments about the Brad Lee podcast. Yeah, Brad's a trip. I got to be on his show too, and we've had a great time. Yeah, Instagram has been troublesome. I see a comment about how Instagram doesn't work. I have this other phone that you can see here. I have it up on top of my computer, and I'm going to move it out of the way because it wasn't working. But yeah, essentially, I try to broadcast separately on a separate phone to Instagram. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Instagram's finicky. I will tell you, and I'm totally veering off course here, but I will tell you, I recorded a podcast episode earlier with a lady named Sue B. Zimmerman. And, the episode probably won't be released for a month or so just because we have such a backlog of episodes. But she was wicked smart. And she's from Boston, so I can say she's wicked smart when it comes to Instagram. She was dropping knowledge about the gram like you wouldn't believe. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm not good at accents, but I love doing them. So, but no, she was very, very smart about Instagram. And she shared about the different neighborhoods on Instagram. Again, I'll wait for the episode, but I mean, there's 5 neighborhoods. Instagram like melts people's brains because there's so much to deal with. You've got the bio, which isn't even a neighborhood. It's just like the I guess you'd call it like the nucleus, but then you've got the feed, you've got lives, you've got stories, you've got Instagram TV, and you've got reels now. You have 5 different areas of Instagram and it's just a lot for people. Anyways, we had a great conversation, but one thing I did not think to ask her is like, how come Instagram's technology is so jank? Because half the time it works and half the time it doesn't, just when I try to go live, even though I segregate it on another device. Never mind trying to incorporate it with a multi-stream platform. None of the multi-stream platforms, Restream, Caster, StreamYard, those are the 3 that I've used. None of them successfully integrate with Instagram. Instagram's tough. Okay. And I'm going to take a question. Actually, I want you guys to share questions. I have a topic that I'm going to talk about today, but I think this is going to be a conversational conversation. I want to have some interaction. So feel free to drop questions. Richard says, what do I think about the 2 Comma Club? I think that it's a great start. I mean, just being honest, $1 million is a great place to start. I have my 2 8-figure awards, which is what you get when you add another 0 to the 2 Comma Club. Listen, ClickFunnels has a beautiful ecosystem. They have a great culture. Brunson is a brilliant marketer, and they've created a lot of enthusiasm and momentum with their 2 Comma Club. I'm not sure I totally understand the question, other than like, I'm super stoked when people make $1 million online, and I hope they blast off and keep going from there. Jeff, I heard about what? I'm not totally following your question. I'm going to kind of get into my meat and potatoes for this conversation, but feel free to keep the questions and the comments coming. Again, listen, if you like what I do, hopefully you understand. I truly am on a mission here. I believe we can change the world one entrepreneur at a time, just opening people's eyes and their minds to what's possible when you take matters into your own hands. Where is it? I made a post this morning on Instagram. I said this. I'll show you the post real quick. This was the post. This was me actually on a meeting earlier. I went home. This is my office. I work here at the office. But my daughter, this one, she's 11. She called me and she said, Daddy, she calls me Daddy. She said, Daddy, I don't feel good. Can you come home? And you know what? The fact that I was able to give her an immediate yes, and then I had to look at my calendar and say, okay, I'm going to be on calls from this time to this time. So I'll come home. I'm going to be on some calls, but I'll come home and I'll see you and spend some, we'll hang out. You can play on your iPad and I'll sit with you. Just being able to say yes, man. Best feeling ever. Just being able to say yes to that. And that's what I want for everyone. What I said in the Instagram post is like, I want this for every parent. This is me on a meeting. I'm on a meeting in this picture. And I said, if you've recently gotten your first taste of working from home, congratulations, you're halfway there. I know a lot of people have been sent home because of COVID, but you're only halfway there. The second half is actually getting an entrepreneurial endeavor going so that you can eventually quit that job for good. Anyways, I want that so much for every parent, every friend, every partner, every spouse, every human. Look, I know that we're not going to have a world where 7 billion people don't go to work every day because somebody's got to work for the entrepreneurs, and some entrepreneurs have a certain type of business where they physically do need people to show up. But that doesn't mean that the opportunity is not available to 7 billion people. It's just the reality of human nature that, it'll probably be 100, 200 years before we have the technology and the mechanics of how the economy works that everybody could take the opportunity, but anybody can. Anybody could right now. I guarantee you, there is nobody watching this. They could not put their head down on, let's call it a 2-year plan to re-engineer their life, re-engineer the way they generate income, to have the ability to go home and be with their daughter or their wife or their husband or their whatever, when they don't feel well, and just spend the time and not have to be told where to go. Thank you, TJ. Jeff, yeah, I love Influence by Robert Cialdini. That's been a game changer book for me. Biggest entrepreneurial influence over the years, frankly, probably I'm going to say, in terms of like big, sort of high level mentors, Simon Sinek was huge. Seth Godin's been a big one. Because what those guys helped me understand, honestly, the best mentor I've had is my therapist. Because my therapist helped me understand that the key to success in this world comes down to how people feel when they interact with you. I can't say it enough. I was on a podcast yesterday, and by the way, I am going to talk about how billionaires got richer during COVID. Like, we are going to loop around to the actual theme here. But I was on a podcast last night. Actually, it was an e-commerce podcast. And I told the guy, I was like, where people miss the mark, and this kind of goes with the actual topic, where people miss the mark so much with their online business is they're not trying to engineer and control and deliberately architect the feeling that their business creates. They're trying to, they're even potentially focusing on value, and those are steps in the right direction. They're not just features. They're not just anonymous, faceless copy or whatever, but they're not all the way there. Ultimately, it is about the emotional response that your business cultivates based on its audience or its leads or its prospects, whatever. And my therapist is the one that helped me get that. All credit where it's due, man. And the beautiful thing about that, and what I hope to capture and to infuse into Entre's training, is that doesn't just help your business, it helps your life. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And if you become a craftsman at the way people feel, and by the way, people are very attuned. This is not something you're going to fake. And this is what my therapist helped me understand. Like, Jeff, you want results in life, but you don't actually love people that well. Look at your empathy score. He's like, he had me take this test. He's like, dude, your empathy is like a 4 out of 100. You're not going to, people aren't going to love interacting with you. So let's do the work. Let's dig in. Let's figure out where your pain comes from, where your frustration, where your anger, where's the residue that you're carrying that's causing you to be empathetically suppressed and connectively challenged and clumsy. Let's actually fix you. And you'll show up everywhere. And it did. It's fixed my marriage. I say fixed. It's dramatically improved my marriage. I don't think my marriage was broken only because we had the good sense to get into a personal development process before the problems surfaced. Both my wife and I had unsuccessful marriages previously, and we loved each other. And we said, let's go do the hard work. But it improved my relationship with my kids. It improved my business. That's the thing that I could never have predicted. I could never have forecast the ways that personal, emotional, psychological development and growth were going to directly pay massive dividends in my actual business. The relationships that I have with my customers, the relationships that I have with my staff, the relationship that I'm building with my audience, the relationships that I have with my professional contacts that I connect with. I mean, even this lady today coming on the podcast, again, her name's Subi Zimmerman. She's been instrumental in the Instagram strategy for Russell Brunson and Billie Jean. And she's a big baller when it comes to Instagram. And she was like, I'm coming on this show called Millionaire Secrets. She told me straight up, she's like, I don't know how I got booked on this show. My team must have talked to your team. She's like, but I am not a fan of people that talk about becoming a millionaire, people that really lead with money. And she's like, I'm not a fan. She basically came in kind of hot of like, I'm not expecting this to go well. And I'm kind of resisting even being here. And at the end of the show, she's like, when I came on, I was nervous, but within a minute or two, I could feel that, that this was going to be okay. This was going to be fine. Just your energy was attractive and we did it and it went great. And, I'm saying it. I don't know how else to put it. Like, you have got to become genuinely skilled at making people feel wonderful when they interact with you. And the reason I say genuinely skilled is because there's no way to do it without being genuine. You can't want to get a strategic result by manipulating the way people feel without actually loving and caring. I mean, look, there are confidence men in this world that do that. They are, very manipulative and tactical about how they create an environment and a feeling. And by the way, interestingly enough, Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, it wasn't written for the salespeople. It was written for the consumers to say, hey, here's 6 things to know that are the tools of the trade so that you can be on guard. Interesting perspective on that book. But what I found is that, look, if you naturally love and care and you do the hard work to access that deep reservoir of passionate agape, just love to see, people thrive, you're going to become a good entrepreneur and you're going to become a good marketer as long as you also understand fundamentals of business. There's some people who are so, whatever the word would be, empaths, like people that are so empathetic and they're so far to that one end of that spectrum, but they haven't become educated on actual business. And so then they end up getting taken advantage of because they just love themselves into oblivion. You got to find that balance. You have to balance a ruthless capitalistic understanding of business and value exchange with a very almost uncapitalistic, emotionally driven desire to love and serve people. And when you find that balance, it's why I wake up every day with the confidence that I do. It's not that and some other principles that I'm actually going to get into now, because frankly, with the way the time is ticking by, I should get into what I want to talk about, which is about how billionaires have made all this money during COVID. But you have to really understand the essence of what makes people tick. We've got some great comments. I appreciate it. Richard, I'm so glad Awesome Life Challenge has been good, been rewarding and valuable for you. Again, that was truly a labor of love. I've never sold Awesome Life Challenge. It has a value, I was going to sell it. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm giving this to people because I want them to have an awesome life. I truly do. And this is one thing my business model will support, being able to give it to people. Look, if my business model could support giving everything away, I literally would do it. But there's two reasons I don't. One is because it's a business. I have the same concerns of every business, like paying for staff, generating profit, being able to access capital to scale the business. You can't access capital to scale a business if your business doesn't make any money. And also because I know as an empirical fact, and this is one way of answering the gentleman who asked me if I would defer payment for the course. No, I won't, because as God is my witness, based on 12 years of experience being online, many of those years being involved as an affiliate or a creator of education-based products, if you don't pay, you won't pay attention. If you don't invest your resources, you won't invest your heart. One of my personal values right here says we invest in physical, personal, and professional excellence. Now, this document right here, I don't know, it might have 100 words on it. It took me and a business partner probably a solid 8 hours to write these 100 words. We fretted over every word. We believe in physical, personal, professional excellence. Nope. We commit to. Nope. We focus on. Nope. We pursue. Nope. We invest in. Yes. Every single word was meticulously chosen. And when it comes to physical, personal, and professional excellence as a core value, we invest in it. I chose that word for a specific reason, myself included. I actually had a guy today. I was on the phone with a guy who's a good friend of mine. And he said, this guy's a really good friend of mine. He's a big influencer. He's got 7-figure plus Instagram following. You likely know his name. He does marketing consulting for the likes of Grant Cardone and Ty Lopez. And this guy's a baller. And I was on the phone with him today and I was telling him about my experience with a podcast. And he was like, okay, let me tell you what to do. Here's, I can tell you how to tweak this thing. And I said, you know what? I appreciate that you're willing to share, but I respect my professional relationships so much. I want to know what's in it for you to tell me before you tell me. Because I want every person that interacts with me professionally, even someone that I'm as good of friends with as you, to come away from that conversation going, man, that guy was fair. He treated me right. He didn't take advantage of me. He didn't expect something for nothing. And he was fair. I literally demanded that he let me pay him so that I would accept the information that he had to share, because I don't want anything for free at this point. Because I know that if I get it for free, A, I'm taking advantage of someone's generosity, and B, I won't implement. If I don't pay, I won't pay attention. If I don't, spend money, I won't spend the effort to get the value. If I don't give value, I won't receive value. It's human nature. So I ended up saying, listen, tell me what it would take to get you on the phone with my team for a couple hours to do a full mind dump, rather than tell me in the quick little 10-minute version. Let's get you in the organization to really share what you have to offer. And I want you to quote me for a consulting engagement before you even tell me what you know. That was my standard for how I was willing to receive the information, because I know thyself. I will not implement if I get it for free. And I guarantee you, and you, you're exactly the same way. Mark my words. I have videos on my YouTube channel that will virtually teach somebody anything they want to know about how to grow a business online. I send people there all the time. I say, my free content on YouTube is probably worth more than a Harvard education for a person that wants to grow a business in the modern economy, because Harvard doesn't teach any of this stuff. Go there. And am I worried? Am I worried that they're going to go there and they're just going to go, oh, sweet, I got all Jeff's good stuff for free. I don't need to buy a course from him. No, I'm not worried, because I know they're going to consume till they're blue in the face. And the vast majority of people aren't going to implement. And even those who do, they're going to know that they're not pushing as hard and they're not going as far as they would, could, and should if they had actually invested in acquiring the information, because it is human nature. It is human nature. We will pay for things and not implement, but we will not get something free and implement. Trust me. Anyways, that actually kind of brings me to my point. By the way, thank you for all the comments, all the questions. I love, Danny, if that's true, you're exceptional, but have you gotten the result? Have you seen it all the way through? And I do too. Listen, I go to the gym. I don't have a trainer. I work out really, really hard. But I have found that consistently over long periods of time, we will be distracted, dissuaded, deterred, and knocked off course on things that we got for free, because we tell ourselves, you know what, I'll come back to it later. Whereas if we paid for it, if we've got that burn, we won't get off track. That's kind of what I mean. But also there are exceptional people who are the exception to what I'm saying. But you don't build a business model around exceptional. You build a business model around everyone, because human behavior is generally what it is. And by the way, I also think that people who have that standard, people who are world-class in their implementation and execution, they also understand the value exchange principle. And just like I did today, they'll go, hey, this isn't right. I should invest in this. Anyway, so here's what I was going to say about what's going on with these recessions. So we've basically had three. We have them about every 10 years, right? We had the dot-com bubble burst in the 98, 99. We had the Great Recession, 2007, 2008. And now we got the COVID thing, 2020. So it's every 10 or 12 years, right? Here's the deal. As entrepreneurs, we got to start by deciding, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to build? What am I going to be known for? What am I going to invest in? And I think it's really good to look at the best of times and the worst of times, both, as we make that decision. And what I find is the really, really successful, the wicked smart people of the world, the Warren Buffetts. I was going to say the Mark Cubans. I like Mark, but he doesn't always get it right. He was convinced that the stock market was going to crash if Donald Trump got elected president, and that's not exactly what happened. I think he might have had a little agenda there, but anyways, he's obviously a pretty sharp guy. They build businesses that do well in bad times. The really, really smart people build businesses that do well in bad times. And I think the mistake that I see a lot of people make, and it's why I wanted to have this particular conversation about how people are making so much money right now in this hard time, is because really, really smart people built businesses that were designed from the outset to do really well in a time such as this. So take Reed Hastings. You may know that name. He's the founder of Netflix, right? He went to Blockbuster and he tried to sell, I forget what it was, $50 million or something. And I don't know the market cap of Netflix. It's probably, I don't know, $100 billion now or something, right? And he went to Blockbuster and they were cocky because they said, well, people basically are still willing to participate in this model. But they were willing to participate in that model because it was good times. And in good times, the party keeps going. People are willing to pay a little extra, take a little longer, go a little slower, and so forth. But when times get bad, and by the way, the two biggest beneficiaries of the current recession have been Netflix and Zoom. Zoom, what's Zoom's business model? Oh, we're going to have web conference. Oh, people still have physical meetings. People pay Cisco for WebEx, even though it's 10 times as expensive. People use the phone, communication, they'll use Skype. No, at the end of the day, they want the fastest, they want the cheapest, they want the most value. Netflix is the most value in broadcast media. Zoom is the most value in communication. Why? Because what did I say? It's about how you make people feel. Zoom allows people to communicate in a way that gives them the most warmth and feeling from their communication and their connection in the most efficient and cost-effective way possible, especially given the world that we're in. It's always value. go back to the Great Recession. Who made the most money in the Great Recession? Warren Buffett. And what he did was he went out and he picked up companies on the cheap. He picked up Goldman Sachs. He picked up other companies. I'm totally blanking out on all the companies Warren Buffett picked up. Actually, I've got a list over here. Hang on. General Electric, Dow Chemical, and he picked them up for one simple reason only. They're solid and they had tremendous value because of the way the stock price had fallen. Go back to the Great Recession, go back to the dot-com bubble bursting. Who crushed it? Mark Cuban. That's when he sold broadcast.com for like $5 billion to Yahoo, because he had created a higher value way to consume sports. Jeff Bezos crushed it because he had created a higher value way to purchase consumer goods. Now, in good times, it's easy to get caught up in non-value factors. You can get caught up in who creates the most fun, who creates the most enjoyment, who creates the most sex appeal, who creates the most, dopamine stimulation, all this stuff. But when the air gets sucked out of the room in a hard time, the one standard that everybody reverts to is value. So if you have value and then you have let's call it like superficial enjoyment, right? So like Great Recession, take a guy like Sheldon Adelson, who runs Sands Casinos. He got smashed in the Great Recession. He lost like 95% of his net worth, like $20 billion or some crazy number, because he was in casinos. And in a recession, trust me, I was at the Wynn last week. A social distancing era casino with plexiglass at the blackjack tables is basically an empty casino. In hard times, it ain't about distraction. It ain't about diversion. It ain't about fun. It's about value. So, look, if you already have $20 billion, great. Go get involved in a business for grins. Go buy a sports team. But if you need money, if you need to grow something to change the quality of your life, which is the vast majority of people that are starting and building businesses, focus on value. Something that is valuable in good times, something that is valuable in bad times, something that doesn't need to be explained in order for people to comprehend the value, and something that's gonna, essentially survive the ebbs and flows. I'm in education. Since I became an affiliate marketer in 2008, all of my purely digital marketing, even my agency, has basically been the education business. Why? Because everybody needs education all the time. It's super high value. It's not something that needs to be explained. People have already made a mental association that education is how you up-level the quality of your life in good times and in bad. So if you're promoting education, or you actually create your own, like I've done now, you're always going to be in a lane of possibility. If you're selling, and this is, I'm saying this because, when I look at the online ecosystem, so many people are caught up in like flavor of the month marketing. They're selling widgets, they're selling gimmicks, they're selling things that are hot, they're selling things that don't have massive underlying value. If you're not promoting something that, knowing what you know about it as a consumer of the product, you would not be willing to pay 10 times as much for, it doesn't have enough value. Ask anybody. I mean, there's many of you on this presentation who've been through my Entre Blueprint course for $39. Knowing what you know now, but having been through it, would you have paid $390 for it? 10 times what I charged. I didn't like pre-select people to ask that question to. It's whoever's here, whoever. Would you pay 10x? Would you have paid $390 for my $39 course? Jeff Montreal, notice I got your name right. Jeff Montreal says, yes, sir. If you don't have, Richard Walter says, yes. Thank you, guys. By the way, thank you. It would have been really embarrassing if you both threw out a no. I just believe in anchoring to value. Here's why. Because flip it. in hard times, when Brian, thank you. In hard times, remember I said in hard times, value reigns supreme, and in good times, let's call it enjoyment factor reigns supreme. But flip it. In hard times, enjoyment factor becomes very optional. But in good times, value stays important, at least to the type of customer you're probably interested in bringing into your business for the long term. So it's easy in good times to get caught up. And I realize we're in a hard time right now, but this is what billionaires knew when it was a good time. Don't get caught up in all the sexy bubble stuff. Stick with value, because even though value may not be the most important thing in good times, it's still an important thing in good times. Whereas on the flip side, the enjoyment, the fun, the things that are really important in good times, they're nowhere to be even maintained, or they're nowhere to be even found. Sorry, Jeff said the word maintain and it lodged in my psyche. That's nowhere to even be found in a hard time. Value is evergreen. Enjoyment is cyclical. Anchor to value. Jeff, you make a good point. If we can maintain that hard time mentality consistently, we're good to go. So Jeff Bezos has a term that he uses at Instagram. Sorry, I got off a podcast about Instagram. Jeff Bezos has a term that he uses at Amazon. And it's one of their core values. It's printed on the walls inside their office. It says, effectively, we will always be a day one company. We will never deviate from being a day one company, because on day one, you have a certain attitude about over delivering to the market, because the market doesn't know who you are yet. So you can take nothing for granted as a day one company. Day two, day 100, day 2000, you start to get soft. So be a day one entrepreneur from day one, right? And that's Jeff. That's basically what you're saying. It's think like, look, when you're starting a business, it's hard times. I don't care what economy you're in. So maintaining that hard time mentality where you just anchor to value always, that's how you reap the rewards. That like they just did a calculation of the Fortune 400, the top 400 richest people in the world. The top 400 richest people in the world now have a combined net worth of $3.2 trillion since COVID. Dramatically increased. I don't remember what the figure was before. I read the article, 2 weeks ago, but it was like the 400 richest people in the world have literally gotten like $500 billion richer in the last 6-8 months, because their businesses are built in value, on a foundation, on a bedrock of value. So I would ask you, what business are you in? What business are you in? Look, I have an e-com store and I sell phone cases. It's a small little project I actually bought. I acquired it, and I bought it so that I could do something with my son that'll be fun. I'm going to teach him how to run ads and sell phone cases. Now, in the middle of COVID, not a great business, but my son's 16 years old. So this isn't his life's work. It's like, hey, I'm going to have this fun business with my dad for maybe 2 years till I go off to college. Maybe he'll keep it through college. It'll be 6 years. That's fine. The world's going to recover. People are going to go back to buying, premium accessories for their phones. It'll be a fun thing. But would I build that business as my long-term, core business of my life? Hell no. Because phone cases aren't rooted in value. They're fun. They're cool. You can design them and get cute pictures on them. They're not rooted in value. If you're doing this for your livelihood, pick businesses rooted in value. That is my 2 cents. That is how the billionaires have crushed it since COVID, because before COVID, when times were good, they were building businesses rooted in value. Anyways, thanks guys. That's what I had to share. I'm looking, I don't see any other questions. Yeah, I play the piano. I love it. Richard, I'm glad you do too, man. Share a video. Put a video of yourself playing piano in the Facebook group, man. Just put yourself out there. That's the other thing I'll share with you. In the world we live in, put yourself out there. You'll be better for it. All right, guys. Thank you for your time. I'm going to figure out how to terminate a broadcast on StreamYard here, and I'll catch you on the next one.